Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Man on Second. My name is Eric Wiedeke. As always, I'm joined by Joe Forsaro. Second time's a charm, eh, Joe?
Yeah, let's hope for those who don't know. The reason why we take these is sometimes the internet crashes, and Eric's crashed after about 2 minutes. So we're doing take two. Hopefully, this is a better one. But yeah, I just got back from the ballpark. Made that fun ride from South Florida, from Miami up to Broward County. And all is well. We want people to go to the ballpark, see the Marlins play. Today, it didn't go their way. Lose 7-3 to the Seattle Mariners. Had their 7-game winning streak snap, but still took 2 of 3 in the series. Arizona's coming in tomorrow. Tomorrow on Monday, Zach Gallen against Pablo Lopez. But I wanted to, Eric, get you kind of your thoughts on Sandy Alcantara because I didn't think Sandy was at his sharpest today. He gets you into the 6th inning, gives up the big home run, and takes the loss. But just what you saw from Sandy, he's now 2-1 with a 2.90 ERA in 5 starts.
Yeah, and honestly, I think it's something that you can say almost through the entirety of the season with Sandy. And I know that the numbers won't lead you to believe that necessarily. 2-1 with the 2.9 is great, but he hasn't gotten to that level that he was at towards down the stretch of last season. Yet. It's not that he's been pitching badly in any of these games. He had a little bit of a rough outing today, sure, but for the most part, it's just been the problem of he just hasn't been able to punch guys out like he was able to last year. Down the stretch when he was getting that strikeout pitch going, it was 10, 11, strikeouts almost per outing at one point.
Yep.
And it's just to a point where he's kind of back to that where he was before that stretch run, where he's pitching a little bit more to contact, and he's having trouble putting guys away, and that's resulting in a little bit more walks as you try to get guys to fish for things out of the zone. And the more traffic you have on the bases, the more likely you are to eventually, at some point it's going to break. He'd been doing a great job all game of kind of putting out the fire, but you can't rely on that all the time.
Yeah, and I thought Logan Gilbert, and we are going to talk about Logan Gilbert, the Mariners' fine 24-year-old right-hander. And one reason is we're going to, at Man on Second, we're going to stand true to, really good players from the state of Florida. Logan, of course, went to Stetson. He's, went to high school in Apopka from the central part of the state. And really fun. I got to talk to him a couple of days ago and then today after the game as well. 0.64 ERA. He gave up a home run to Brian Anderson with 2 outs in the 5th inning. That was the last batter he faced. And his ERA on this season, like I said, 0.64. He was going to be, if he got Andy out, he would have been the ERA leader. With Pablo Lopez tomorrow going in with a 0.40. But I thought Logan wasn't at his total sharpest
No.
either. Really good pitching matchup. He walked 4, struck
Yep.
out I think 5. But Gilbert had the way of just kind of doing, he and Sandy both were kind of on the fence. And Logan, I thought I thought the game was won in the 5th inning when Gilbert with 2 outs, he had no hitter going into the 5th, and John Birdie a 2-out single. Cooper followed with a single, and next thing you know, Jorge Soler's up. Gilbert's pitch count's getting up there. Hits a foul ball. Ty France drops it, near the fence. So, Gilbert's out of that inning, but the drop fly ball, it goes as an error, even though it's in foul territory, gives Soler new light. The count was full. Then Gilbert throws a 3-2 slider and strikes out Soler. So he picked up his teammate. So he got out of the mess. Sandy, comes out in the 6th. He wasn't able to get out of trouble. Gave up a big home run to super prospect Julio Rodriguez, the number 3 ranked prospect in all of baseball, according to MLB Pipeline, 21 years old, 110 miles an hour, 110.4 miles an hour off the bat, 450 feet for longest home run by a Mariner this year. You have some thoughts on that sequence there with Rodriguez, and because the Marlins are playing the analytical game, going with matchups all the time. What were your observations of that sequence that got Julio Rodriguez his first big league homer?
Yeah, and it's the same kind of logic that informs the decisions on what they do with their lineups as well. And I understand playing the matchups, and you want it to be kind of this, we're playing every game to win. Um the analytics, and this isn't like I'm not an anti analytics person. I'm very much in favor of analytics, but when you look at splits like that, most of the time you're looking at average right-handed pitcher versus average left-handed batter. That is not what this matchup would have been. It's Sandy Alcantara versus Abraham Toro, who was hitting 167 at the time that he was intentionally walked. I do think that those types of things should matter in context. If the matchup is closer to even, and it's like Jesse Winker, let's say, I'm all for intentionally walking Jesse Winker in that situation. I just think the context of the batter needs to be taken into account because not all left-handed batters are equal.
No, you make excellent points, and that gets to that fine line. And the Marlins are playing the game a little more true to what the Rays do, what the Giants tend to do, and that's the point of where does the manager's discretion come in relationship to what the analytics says to do is the matchup, and the safe way out is to play the analytics matchup. If it doesn't work out, you say you still played the matchup, and it kind of removes the second guessing if you're consistent with that. I think a lot of things go into play in general in
Right.
those things. What if a guy isn't good with a slider, but that pitcher didn't have as good slider that day? You kind of or lost the feel for that. I thought today Logan Gilbert, for instance, has an elite fastball. He has amazing movement. He has a ridiculous extension. His stuff plays. He's throwing 97, but it plays up because he's 6'6", and his extension is a full foot, pretty much on average, further than the average, extension. So that pitch almost seems like if you're a hitter, it's on you a lot quicker. But those, if you noticed, his fastball today, he finally in about the third or fourth inning started getting some strikeouts on that fastball. I thought the Marlins did a good job kind of, being pesky with him, fouling balls off and working, up that pitch count. But Gilbert's slider came to the rescue against, his fastball is his strength, and he's going against Solaire's a fastball hitter as well. That count full, like I was saying in that fifth inning, when he struck him out, he went to a really good 3-2 slider and got him, it might have been out of the zone, got him to chase on it, but he probably had him geared up for the fastball and that ball, to execute it. So it's always going to be that, it's still they're human beings making these, executing. I think it's a matter of execution. So do you believe in the execution of your player over just what the matchup is? And is it always strictly batting out or OBP or whatever, that they're looking at? Again, you get Rodriguez, you want him to prove himself because I don't think he's been lighting it up necessarily, coming in. So you kind of let to see, but this is kind of the cat and mouse games. I know the Marlins, they weren't, going to sit Jazz today. They sat him against Robbie Ray the other night. Jazz just had an upset stomach, so he wasn't in the lineup today against Logan Gilbert, although he did pinch hit in the later innings and got a single. So it is something that we're going to be tracking how the team uses analytics, and we're all for it. It's just, there's, even with analytics, there's discretion. And, they started the year off pretty adamant, not leading Jazz off. But, when they were losing and then Jazz went up there and started winning. So I do think a lot accounts for your lineup construction and having an element of speed. We've been through that before, not even just so much to steal the bag, but, speed, is disruptive. You stay out of a double play, sometimes because speed, if you get a ground ball, I think Jazz had a game like that not long ago. He avoided a double play, kept an inning alive, and they got runs in that inning. Those are the type of things that, having the elements of athleticism, speed at the top of your order as well. But overall, it's kind of hard to get too critical of the Marlins when you're winning absolutely. 7 of 8.
Yeah.
But these are some observations. I want to touch on Gilbert. Like I said, the kid, the homer, he gave a home run to Brian Anderson with 2 outs in the 6th inning. That was the first run that he's given up since the first inning of his first start. Through his first 5 starts, his 0.64 ERA is a Seattle Mariners record. The lowest ERA, Randy Johnson, Hall of Famer, had 0.92 in 1995. So terrific start for Gilbert, who and a homecoming. Keep this in mind. He came in. He pitched in Tampa and beat the Rays, and then he comes down here. So he had a good number of family, his parents, and so forth in Tampa. They made the drive down from Central Florida to see him here. And speaking to him, he had never been to Lone Depot Park. Wasn't really a Marlin fan. He said it was a little far away. He was more not even so much a Rays fan. He's just more of a baseball fan.
Right.
But terrific talent from Stetson. Joins the Jacob deGroms, Corey Kluber. Those are Stetson guys. So those are three pretty outstanding pitchers, and I think this kid's going to be a really good pitcher. And like I said, I liked even the fact that when he got the 5-run lead, he came out for the 6th. And Scott Cervais, the manager, was saying he was only had about 10 pitches, and he got 2 strikeouts in the bottom of the 6th, and before he hung the slider to Andy, and Andy crushed it, and at 102 pitches he was out of the game. But I do like that kind of bulldog mentality, trying to fight through and help your team out, go as deep, especially when they lost the first 2 in the series, go as deep into the game as possible. We're going to be tracking Logan Gilbert, and we're going to be giving updates on him. Which raises a question I have too with you, Eric, is, Gilbert got the call up last year. He's, like I say, he's going to turn 25 later this week, I think Thursday. Rodriguez is up at 21 years old. Grayson Rodriguez, regarded as the best pitching prospect in baseball. He's with the Orioles. He is getting close. He could be any day now to the big leagues. You're the Miami Marlins. What do you do at Max Meyer? He's not in the 40-man. Rosters are going to go down to 26 tomorrow on Monday. How much longer do you want Max Meyer to develop at AAA before he's wearing a Marlins uniform?
Well, I don't see. That's the thing. I don't know how much developing he's actually doing at this point. I think the oven has dinged. I think Max Meyer is ready. There's no need to keep him. He's ready. Because here's the thing, when you're playing the matchups, the key theme with the matchup is we want to play every game like it's a playoff game, like we are trying to win every game. From an organizational standpoint, it's getting hard to say that, and at the same time have Max Meyer, down in AAA, because it's very, very, very clear that he is one of your 5 best starters in your organization, point blank, period. I think he's ready to go. He went, what did he go, 6 2/3 in his last start? So he went into the 7th in his last start. So it's not like he needs to be stretched out anymore. I just, if you're looking to really contend this year, and they are, mm-hmm. I don't see how you don't look at an immediate upgrade in Max Meyer and call him up. I just don't.
Yeah, that's a really good point. He's number 33 prospect according to MLB Pipeline. 2-0, 1.71 ERA, 26 1/3 innings pitched, 33 Ks, 6 walks. So you made the decision. You're grooming to be a starter. We've gone back and forth. Should he be a starter, reliever? Regardless of our opinions, it doesn't matter. He's a starter in their eyes. He's pitching like a starter. And, I really think with the extra playoff team, now with 12 total, 6 in each league. So 6 out of 15 are in the National League are going to the playoffs. And there's going to be a lot of teams fighting for that 6th spot. Yep. And I think that's where the Marlins ultimately, I think they're a solid team. I think they're good enough to be one of those, 6, probably 5 or 6 more than 1, 2, or 3. I'm not sure they're the division champ right now, but again, like you say, they're playing it to win. We know the Orioles aren't going anywhere, but Grayson Rodriguez, if you're good enough and the kid has ace potential, why not? Start the clock, get him up and going, and because you only could do so much. Julio Rodriguez is up, hitting a homer off Sandy Alcantara today. Let's go to the flip side. What could be the negative? Josh Lowe from the Tampa Bay Rays. He hit cleanup today, and he was sent out this afternoon after the Rays suffered a loss. And Lowe, Pipeline's number 48 prospect, the Rays number 2 overall, hitting just 188. 27 Ks and 71 plate appearances. And, Josh Lowe was brought up pretty heralded,
Right.
and so there's no guarantee,
No, of course not.
that there's going to be success. But the Rays, they made the move. They got Lowe up not long ago, and then they're now sent him down. I do agree with you. If even if Elliott, I think the Marlins have kind of been, fortunate that their rotation overall has been, obviously we knew it's going to be their strength, but it's backed it up, and they win 7 in a row. You have Eliezer, who is a weapon, but I think the time is now to kind of think that way because rosters are going to 26 now. And
Yep.
if you're the Marlins and you got to make a call, you're going to go with 14 pitchers because you only have one more month you could do that. If you're worried about, inning management over 6 months, you have one more month to do that. So you make up your call. Are you going to send Brian De La Cruz down and go, with 14 pitchers? Or are you going to keep De La Cruz, go 13 and 13? Well, if you're going to go 13 and 13, more than ever, you're going to probably need your 13 best. So, right. You could just slide Eliezer to the pen in long relief, and that's a really nice weapon to have. And you could go with him and, whether it's, who's going long? They just brought him up. Excuse me. They're long relief. They just replaced him with Daniel Castano. I don't have the. Yeah, Zach got called up. Yeah, so he can be one, but he also could potentially go down. And it's again, it gives the Marlins the best chances to win. Just your thoughts while I look that transaction up because I'm going nuts over it.
Yeah, I mean, as far as like in the bullpen, I think Eliezer would be good in the bullpen. I think a really good case study for Eliezer in the bullpen has been Cody Poteet in the bullpen. You see the stuff plays up. Poteet has a really good breaking ball that he plays off of his fastball. I think he's just another good weapon to add to the bullpen, and I think you've got a lot of guys in the bullpen, and at some point, you just have a couple guys that get lost in the crowd there. That you cut down to 26. You send a couple guys down, and I don't think you're really missing too much there.
Yeah, it was Pop, but Poteet's the one I was thinking of because you could even if you want Eliezer to be your long man. Or even piggyback. Let's say Meyer, you're just happy with him if he goes 4 his first start. You could piggyback him with Eliezer and probably get 7 innings there between the two of them, and then put it in the hands of Bender and Sulser, however you want to mix and match at the end. You could send Poteet down to put him in the rotation to give you starter depth as well. Those are things to do because someone's going to have to replace Max. I mean, you could call people up from Double-A as well, but you need at the end of the day, they've been very blessed that their rotation and their team has had good health, and we're knocking on wood. But at any time you're going to probably need 10 to 13 starters before it's all said and done. So I think maybe do you get a little creative that way and just use Eliezer and try to build Poteet up. And as a fallback, Castano, I like Castano in that kind of role. That he could be a spot starter, long reliever. He's shown he's up to the task, for a few of those. So there are some ways I think they can go in that direction.
Yeah, I think Braxton is one of those guys that's depth kind of. Eddie Cabrera is going to finish his rehab assignment soon, and he'll probably be up in AAA, I imagine, when that is finished. So he kind of seems like a guy that naturally slots in there into that AAA rotation. There's a few different directions they can go. I don't know. The more I see Poteet in the bullpen with
you don't want to set him down. You like him
96, 97. I kind of like it. I don't know.
I'm just throwing it out there.
Absolutely, absolutely.
It's a really good point. If he's found his own and he's helping you win right now, we're trying to win right now, right? But my question with Poteet is he and Eliezer redundant? You really need 2 right-handed longmen. That's my if I'm doing that's to me the Max Meyer plan. Because you're taking a pretty good starting pitcher, Eliezer. He's a 5th starter, but he's got value. I mean, you can always trade him, but I'm also leery of doing that because as soon as you trade him, you're going to wish you didn't because something's going to happen. So how do you navigate? How do you get Max Meyer here without, because if you just want to keep Max down to June, down in AAA, then you could go whatever you want. But if you think you can make a run, they got over 500, which was really big. But if you want to push this to 10 over,
Yeah.
15 over, and then seriously, maybe you're in that. Maybe you are in the division, picture, and at worst, what happens? Then you're just one of the wild cards instead of scrambling and pulling all the plugs out to get that last wild card. So I think if you want to make some noise, if Luzardo's going to pitch his way and Pablo and Sandy's going to be fine, then what do? You probably want to get Max to the show as fast as he can.
Yeah, I mean it's just it's and like we said, Jesus was a guy that coming out of the spring, I think you and I were really excited to see so far this season. And he's kind of lived up to that to this point.
Yeah.
So it's just one of those things where when you can trot out a rotation of Sandy, Pablo, Trevor, Max, and Jesus, if you can push that button, I think you do it 10 times out of 10.
Yeah, I think you make a statement. We're now a month into it. The weather's warming up, so you don't really have to worry about him pitching in cold weather, which is something I'm always weary of young players, pitchers especially, that haven't been tested yet. You want to make your major league debut at Citi Field in 50-degree weather and a potential rain delay game where you're kind of having I think they had a game in Washington where they're lucky to get it in. It was kind of raining when the game's going on, and it was threatening all day. So the weather gets a little warmer as we go there. But I think the Marlins, I think they really should. I think they really should pull the trigger. And like I said, with rosters going to 26, he may not be called up tomorrow because you're not going to have your starter, when he gets to carry another bullpen arm. But you need to kind of open that lane up and say, when do we want him? And and again, I think Eliezer is highly valuable in the multiple roles. He's already pitched out of the bullpen. He could be really effective there. And then in the not too distant future, Dylan Floro is going to be back too. So, you're going to have Donnie did say, I asked him about that, and he, because you have Bender getting saves, you have Salser getting some saves, you get Tanner Scott, the lefty, who probably isn't going to get too many of those opportunities, but you never know. You might be playing a matchup game. If you're winning several games in a row, you're going to need multiple closers.
Right.
Can't always have the same guy going out there every night. And then Floro. So I think there are going to be a mix and match until somebody takes the wheel. But I think, a lot of concerns people have about closer with this club. If your starters are going into the sixth, throwing 6 to 7 innings a night, and especially if they could get 7, which I think one time we had Sandy go 8 and Pablo 7, and they lost one of those games. But normally you're gonna win a good. You do that, then you could easily piece together the final 2. You could get the final 6 out somehow.
Yeah, I mean, and it's funny. You mentioned that. How about the Marlins leading MLB in save percentage? 9 out of 10 attempts so far. Right.
Yeah, and the one was
just the way we thought it would be. Yep.
Yeah, and the one was. I know people get excited. They get all worked up over traffic. They think that the closer should just strike everyone out. I had people tell me that of the 4 out save. The people on Twitter all poo-pooing Bender's 4-out save he got in Washington because the wind knocked the ball down. Well, guess what? They played in a stadium that has wind. I mean, we're very spoiled down here with the roof. People kind of forget the elements factor in. You play at Wrigley Field, the wind blows in, and guess what? Those are outs. Or cheap hits become homers because the wind's blowing out. That's just the elements are a factor. And the bottom line is he got the job done. He got 4 outs before they got runs to tie the game up or give them a win. That's all that matters. Yep. And the more you get saves, the more confident you're going to get in save opportunities. So it's yes, you don't like walks, but the guy's got the most nasty stuff in the pen, meaning Bender. I at least would try to see, ride it as far as you can before somebody steps up, and then potentially you got trade scenarios by the deadline.
Yeah, I mean, let the guy actually fail first. If he's going to fail in the role, let him actually do it before we make the change. He's got 4 saves in the last week. Maybe they're not all pretty, and believe me, they're not. But the most important thing is, the win doesn't count for any less because there were runners on.
Yeah, yeah. No, there's no wind prevented home run save. So there aren't categories like that. I
Right.
get the frustration in fans, but the end of the day, it's got the job done. You didn't get the job done. And
Right.
normally, if like I said, with him, maybe a guy like him needs some success to say, hey, I can do this, because closing isn't for everyone.
Right.
But if you suddenly have them, you take them, because there's a different mindset and that goes into that. It's more than just physical, and you want that bulldog mindset. You want that's kind of feeling of success. But let me ask you: do you think they should go with 14 pitchers and 12 position players, or should they go 13-13 right now and not worry about it?
I think they can. It's tough because I think that they can afford to do both. Um, Looking at it, I think I would go 14-12 at least while you can. Because you're gonna at some point you're gonna go back to. I would go 14-12 while you can.
I
Yeah,
agree. I
just
agree
preserve the pitchers while you're able to.
because you're going to regret it otherwise.
Yeah.
They haven't had the starters out of the game in the first inning yet. They haven't had the fluky, a blister takes you out. They've been getting their starters into the fifth, sixth, and sometimes seventh and eighth inning. And I think that the fact that it's happened so regularly, we know. I try to see deeper than the day. I've covered this sport long enough to know what is your pace for 6 months, not what's your pace for, oh my God, I was the, pitcher of the month in April, but I petered out because I either played too much or whatnot, or
Right.
threw too much and never, things didn't go my way after that. And you want to preserve those arms, and you want to be ready for September, and then if you're good enough, October. So
Yep.
why are you, when you can, going to risk that in May, when you have up until, I think it's the 29th or something like that of the month. So you have essentially a full month. I think it might be 1 day shy of, you have to get rid of them before June 1. But you're going to, I think you'll regret it if you don't.
Yeah, and listen, I mean, you get to a point, let's say it's De La Cruz that gets sent down. He's gonna go down to AAA. He'll probably hit pretty well. You're getting him every day at bats. When you bring him back up, he'll be hot, ready to go in case anyone goes down. There's really no downside to it.
No, I mean, you could talk about the psyche of the player, because he does belong in the big leagues, but do you want to give a guy 8 to 10 at bats a week? If you think it's sustainable, he's going to go 4 for 8. Okay. I mean, he's kind of been doing it, but that's only 1 month as well.
Right.
Would you want a month, which would be what, 70 or so, 60, 70, maybe 80 at bats? And at least he has that. If he has to do this role, at least he has, more at bats under his belt to, to keep him sharp enough.
Right.
And you never know. I mean, if someone rolls an ankle tomorrow, he's back here anyway. And again, they've been very fortunate with their health, and as they kind of navigate these early months, and I think they've done a good job with it. I will say this, a lot of people we get, and I've been critical too of some of the matchups, sitting, Jazz against certain lefties. But I do believe, and I think we've mentioned this before, I thought there's going to be a lot of soft tissue type injuries of these players. The shortened spring training, the Marlins play on turf. The Marlins do have some big bodies out there, and Soler and Garcia and Sanchez are big guys. They're going to, and I asked Donnie that, and he said he's got to get them off their feet on occasion. So I think that's when you're saying, okay, I gotta rest them anyway. So rest them on these days, because they got Robbie Ray come in. It's a Cy Young guy, tough lefty. Good day to get Sanchi and Jazz out of the lineup, and they end up winning. So you need, again, it's a bench sport, it's a depth sport. They don't really have any superstars on this team, so everyone kind of can be subbed out for.
Right.
But you also want to see and bring out the best in your guys that are regulars, not all complimentary players.
Yeah, and to be fair, I mean, it's at a point where at some point the fan base really can't get too upset with John Birdie starting at second base when he's hitting 375 on the season. And I know that that's not going to sustain all year, but it underscores the need for that quality depth, because when you are sitting Jazz, you're not just forfeiting, a spot in the lineup. You're putting a capable ball player in that spot.
Yeah, no question. John Birdie, without question, is a big leaguer. He's a
Right.
big league roster role player, and he's probably not your everyday guy. But 2-3 times starts a week. He's more than capable of handling that. And if someone goes on the AL, he's good for the 10 days or more.
Yep.
But and that's those type of guys, and the fact that he does so much, the positional versatility. He can play infield and outfield. And we saw today, he gets that 2-out hit against Gilbert. He fought off some things, and he hits that single to right. Next thing you know, the Marlins almost they're down 2 at that time. Cooper runs one out of the ballpark. It's a tie game, and if not him, Soler. And they put themselves in that position. But because John Birdie got that 2-out hit, and once that first hit happens, you don't see as many one hitters, because you see once that no hitter is broken up,
Yep.
then it's like the floodgates tend to open up, and other guys, kind of take advantage of that. And John Birdie got that going today.
No, absolutely. I mean, just touching a little bit more on this game, you know, I was very impressed with Gilbert, as you mentioned. Didn't have his best stuff today. I do want to give props to whoever is in the scouting department for the Miami Marlins, because I think from the very first 2 innings, I'm surprised they didn't score, because those at bats that they had, probably the first 5 or 6 hitters of the ball game, all were really good at bats against Gilbert. They were putting the bat on the ball, and they had a plan at the plate. Eventually, Gilbert did settle in and gave the Mariners a really good start. But I did want to point that out.
Yeah, I think, like you say, Cooper had a 8 pitch walk, and then Sanchi, I think, had 11 or a
11.
12 pitch
Yeah.
walk, 11 pitch with a bunch of foul balls, and they were fouling off some nasty pitches. Like, I didn't know how they could get the bat on that. And credit to, like you said, the advanced scouting was really good on this. They had a really good plan against Gilbert, and credit to Gilbert for executing,
Yep.
being able to execute a pitch and get out of a jam. And that's what good pitchers do, and that's why we like him. And we're going to be tracking him and many more from our great state of Florida. But this was, I think we had a really insightful and a fun podcast here, Eric. And it's starting to get rolling. I do think tomorrow's going to hang around. I think we're going to have a fun summer. It's I'm not guaranteeing a playoff spot for this team, but I think they're going to make enough noise, and I would not be surprised. And I think this team's very interesting, and they're fun to cover.
Yeah, and absolutely, it's going to be a very fun summer. We're going to have a lot of content coming, and I think one of the more fun storylines to track, especially with this team. We saw 29,000 Saturday night. It was night, so a few
Yeah.
thousand of those were free tickets for but 16,000 again today. It'll be interesting, and it'll be fun to kind of track the attendance throughout the year too, as the team stays relevant. Like you said, I think they will.
Yep. Tell everyone how they can find us and carry us out, my friend.
Absolutely. So you can find all of our full-length podcasts at the 5 Reasons YouTube channel, and you can find the replays on our Twitter at Man on Second. That's going to be at Man on 2ND. We do have lots of content coming by the week. So thank you guys, and we will see you next time.